Today I'll explain how to use every sub-weapon, and I'll also be giving each one a rating. But since everyone will have a different experience with each sub, instead of using a numerical system, I'll be using one that's guaranteed to leave no one satisfied. Starting out, bombs may seem like great tools to get splats. However, it's much more practical to use them to zone people out and manipulate your opponents to go a certain direction. When you're throwing a bomb, you're presenting your enemy with a choice: move or die. And depending on how you throw the bomb, you can control which way your opponent is going to move. Splat bombs, also known as the classic. Literally no one calls it that. It's not the fanciest or the flashiest, but you can't go wrong with it either. You can throw it at someone to make them get back, you can toss it up on platforms to make statue players reconsider their position, you can roll it along the ground to make it explode faster, you can basketball into the tower and tower control to get people to hop off the tower, you can throw it straight down as someone gets all up in your grill. People still say that, right? It's nobody's favorite, but no one's going to complain about having it either. So for that reason, out of a possible vanilla ice cream, I'm going to give it a Sprite. Suction bomb. Similar to splat bombs, except instead of rolling them on the floor and bouncing them off of walls, it'll stick to the first thing it touches, which in most cases is a pretty useless feature. The most important thing to remember is that it takes longer to detonate than splat bombs. This can be somewhat of a double-edged sword. Good because you can zone out your opponents for a longer period of time, which can often help buy you time to get a few extra points or get into better positioning, or eat another vanilla wafer during a match you fucking slob. However, it's sometimes bad because your opponent will have plenty of time to dodge it, even if they don't immediately see it. So what I'm trying to say is that it has the potential to be really useful. It oftentimes takes too much time, is actually too late to really make a difference. So my rating for it is going to be an Optimus Prime out of a possible buying a girl flowers the day after Valentine's Day. What are you doing, man? It's too late. You blew it. Best bombs. Unlike all the other bombs, burst bombs explode upon impact. 2 direct hits from burst bombs is a kill. That being said, it's fucking impossible to get 2 direct hits from burst bombs, unless you're at really close range or your opponent is a complete dumbass. However, they're really useful to either reduce the number of hits needed from your main weapon to kill someone, or they can finish someone off if they're out of range of your main weapon, or they can be used for some emergency ink resistance for a quick escape. So they're really just there to provide a little bit of assistance, like a point guard in basketball. So for that reason, out of a possible Bugs Bunny from Space Jam, I'll give it a stepladder. But like a good stepladder. A DeWalt stepladder. Curling bomb. Seekers were my favorite sub from Splatoon 1, and for this game they were split into 2 subs. And oh boy, they are both not nearly as good as Seekers were. For curling bombs, if you tap the button, they fly in a straight line, bounce off walls, and explode. If you hold the button and release it, they fly not as long but explode way sooner, which is a feature you will pretty much never use. Intentionally trying to get kills with these Canada bombs are a huge waste of time and ink. The best use for them is for what was known as seeker surfing in the first game, which is when you throw one out and swim through the ink trail it leaves. Useful for doing speedruns in single player and quickly swimming into enemy ink. However, they don't move particularly quickly or for a long period of time. For rating, I give it a slow moving bowling ball out of 10. Pins. Auto boom. The other half of the seeker split, if you throw it and no one's there, it immediately detonates. If you throw it and someone is there, then the auto bomb will very slowly follow behind them and then detonate when it gets close or when it just gets tired. The damage radius is slightly larger than for other bombs, I think. Useful for making statue players like chargers and splatlings do their positions, but you can do that with most other bombs. Or scouting out players trying to shark in the enemy ink. So out of a possible T-1000, I give it a mall security robot that drives itself into the fountain. Toxic news. The replacement for Disruptor, and it's way worse. Throw it in key areas, and your enemies will get stuck in it, sort of, and they'll be a little bit vulnerable, and it will be hard for them to see. Apparently, I don't really know, but otherwise they can easily leave the area, so it doesn't really make much of a difference. Honestly, the intimidation of seeing one has more an effect on the player than the actual effect in the game on your Inkling. In short, it's not really good. Can't really recommend it. Out of a possible mustard gas, I give it a dog farting in his sleep, which he likes to do all the time when in the middle of a league battle. God damn it, Captain! Point center. Throw it at or near an enemy to have a direct line to where they are, even if they're swimming around in the enemy ink. Although they were recently buffed to have a bigger radius, they're still not nearly as good as they were in Splatoon 1, since it feels like they take more ink than they should. The important thing to remember is that when you tag them, they're tagged for your whole team, so your whole team can see them, not just you. So I give it a Scouter out of 9,000. Squid Beacon. Put one down and you can jump to it later, assuming your opponent didn't destroy it or your teammates didn't already use it, and you can put down up 3. With some careful planning and enough quick super jumping, you can hop around the map like a ballerina with moon boots. Super jumping is a lot less useful in Splatoon 2 compared to the first game, since a lot of the new maps are less long and more wide, making it easier to get back into the fray after you die, not having a super jump. But beacons are a little bit more useful since no one really checks the map that often. There are a couple things to remember with beacons. Number 1, if you're the one with beacons and you jump to one, replace it when you land. Number 2, put beacons where it's difficult for the enemy to get to or to shoot from a distance, like behind a wall or the top of a ledge. Number 3, don't put a beacon on top of spawn. You can jump to spawn at any point in the match. And I see way too many players wasting a beacon by putting it on top of spawn, you idiots. Number 4, if you're not the one on your team with beacons, still don't hesitate to jump to them. They're for everyone to use, not just the person with the beacons. And number 5, if you jump to a beacon, the opponent won't see the ring that normally appears when you're super jumping, so it's more or less like a free stealth jump without having to actually run stealth jump. I give it a lily pad out of a possible 4. Sprinkler. It inks the area around it. Not too much depth here. Throw it in one direction, ink another direction to help charge your special quickly. Throw it up high and it'll be hard for a lot of players to reach it, especially if they're using close weapons. It can be really useful in splat zones. Also, people will always pop out of enemy ink to get rid of one, so it can be slightly useful in that respect for scouting out hiding players, or just as a distraction. Also, if you see a teammate throw down a sprinkler, don't ink the area around it. You're just wasting their ink and your time. I give it a get off my lawn out of a possible Kentucky. Yeah, figure that one out. Splash Wall. For a long time, this was considered the best sub-weapon in Splatoon 1. But then it got nerfed to oblivion, so now we're getting the neuter version. Flies out at a fixed trajectory, and it's the perfect sweet spot between too far to be of any use, too close to throw it while you're pushing forward, too slow to deploy if you're under fire, too small to protect multiple teammates, too weak to take any considerable amount of damage. It's just the worst. You can bounce it off a wall to deploy it faster and closer. That's the one strategy with it. Most people will just swim around it and keep shooting at you. So if they do that, I guess you could swim through it and keep the wall between you two. Just look out for bombs, because they'll all explode upon impact with the splash wall. I give it a Great Wall out of China, because historically speaking, it was just as effective at keeping out the Mongols. Ink Man. You can put 2 down, but they don't kill. They just tag the opponent and do about 30 damage. So it's just as useless as it was in Splatoon 1. Once again, the worst sub-weapon in the game. Congratulations. Put it down where you think people will swim. The closer to their spawn, the better. Or in paths where you think people will try to flank. Nothing else to say about this crap. Out of a possible DMZ between North and South Korea, I give it a getting out of bed in the middle of the night to go pee and stepping on a Lego. Very inconvenient, not the end of the world.